The Boys is a 2019 superhero show based on a comic of the same name. The comic was written by Garth Ennis, a man who's dedicated his entire career to answering the simple question of what if 50% of the human population were rapists? Every character in the Boys comic is designed to be completely evil in an overly cartoonish way. Oh, it's Skullman, he eats babies and fucks dogs. The show does the same thing, except instead of eating babies, Skullman votes Trump and doesn't wear a mask. The basic premise of the series is, what if all your favorite Hollywood rapists were also superheroes? The media conglomerate of this universe, Vought, promotes superheroes as products that are peddled to the masses, and in order to keep up their infallible brand, Vought also covers up all of the rapes. By pointing the finger at Hollywood and corporations in this manner, you attract people from all walks of life. You get the right-wingers, yeah, I hate the woke media. You get the socialists, yeah, these big corporations are so corrupt. You get the self-identified intellectual video essay creators, ah yes, the Boys truly holds up a mirror to our own society. And then you get the apes. I mean, obviously all the messaging goes out the window as soon as you realize that the show is made by Hollywood and Amazon. So it's sort of like they're saying, yeah guys, we can have a laugh at ourselves, but I'm not going to stop exploiting you, and I'm not going to stop raping your kids. I've seen about 100 video essays from white people that big up the Boys because of how realistic it is, but it isn't realistic at all. It just references things from Reddit. So people point and they say, oh, I remember when that happened on Reddit.
So what were you doing?
A YouTube show. Fun Size with Little Cricket? You haven't seen it? Oh, well, I'm kind of like PewDiePie without the Nazi stuff.
Oh, PewDiePie? I know who that is.
Don't worry. Girls get it done.
They were making fun of Marvel movies. And then they do the exact same thing they were making fun of. The Boys pandas, they're the same kind of subhuman cave dweller that consumes Marvel movies and then claps every time they see a reference to another Marvel movie. Except for the Boys, it's just their favorite Reddit meme. The only difference being that then the Boys fans go on social media and start acting like the Boys is some deep deconstruction of society because they referenced Ant-Man going up Thanos' asshole. My main issue with the Boys is that after season 1, nothing happens, the world doesn't change, the characters don't change, and everything just keeps getting reset to the status quo of mid-series 1. For example, Huey starts season 1. He's a beta male loser, okay? He lives with his dad. His girlfriend gets killed by A-Train, so Butcher comes in and he brings him onto the Boys. And then over the course of the season, you see him become more confident, more cunning, more capable, and he consistently proves himself to the Boys as a good teammate.
This kid is full of surprises.
Later in the series, Butcher goes AWOL, and then Huey sort of becomes the new leader of the team.
So, you came here. You meant to come here without Butcher.
Yeah.
C'est incroyable.
And then in season 2, they completely undo everything. They have characters who previously praised him call him a useless faggot to his face.
You called him. I'm sorry, but Huey, it's not a game now. We need a real captain.
Instead of having Huey grow into his own as a character, they just instead decide to keep him as the same gangly pussy that he was at the start of season 1, regardless of what happens to him. Don't worry. Here's the turning point. Season 3, Huey becomes self-aware that he's a massive pussy. And in an attempt to be less of a pussy, he starts taking superhero juice in order to protect his loved ones. Over the course of an entire series, he becomes more confident and proactive until he sits in a car, thinks about pizza rolls, and then just resets to his original character in the start of the series. And then his arc ends with him turning a fucking light switch on whilst triumphant music plays. Writers get paid $70K a year for this, and they think it's not enough. It's madness. A series-long arc was resolved in around 3 minutes. On top of that, it's an arc that was just done better in season 1. Now, obviously, he's not gonna physically match up to Homelander, but that's not the point, okay? In the season 1, he still gets the better of A-Train without powers, even though it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Hey, I came alone. Alone, huh? You really did come alone. You really did come alone.
But in season 3, his arc is that he has to, like, accept that he's just, like, a glorified fucking coffee boy. This on its own isn't that bad, okay? Power Rangers repeats the same shit every episode, and I thought it was pretty cool. As a 2-year-old, you could create mindless entertainment by doing this. However, The Boys has another problem. Not only did none of the characters evolve, they're also boring as fuck. The reason for this is that only 2 characters have any kind of actual role to play in the story, so every single other character just does nothing and isn't memorable. I mean, can you even remember a single thing Frenchie did in season 2? He had an entire plot point dedicated to one of his friends dying from a drug overdose, and you couldn't remember that because it was fucking boring as fuck. Here is a little writing tip, Bungie's big tip, okay? With good characters who have strong dynamics between them, you can easily insert them into this video of Chris Chan where him and Bob argue about videos on the internet.
I want everything about my house off the internet!
In this video, okay, there are 3 characters. You got Chris Chan, you got Bob, and you got Green County. All of these guys got a role to play. I know it's real, okay, but it pushes the scene forward. Because of those interpersonal dynamics, it becomes very compelling and very funny. If I said Rick and Morty, you know who Chris Chan is, okay? If I give you the cast of Breaking Bad, you say, okay, Jesse, he's Chris Chan. Walter is Bob, and Skyler is Green County. And it works perfectly because the characters are so well defined in the show that you immediately know who Chris Chan is. I give you Goku and Vegeta, you know who Chris Chan is. I give you Huey and Frenchie, who's Chris Chan? Who is Chris? You've got no fucking clue who Chris Chan is because the show sucks dick. People are going to watch this and going to say, Bungie, you are a fucking idiot. And it's fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I believe season 1 was a passion project of sorts. And whilst it has its problems, I actually do quite like it. So why did the show have such an immediate and steep decline in quality? Now, one of the people involved in season 1 was George Mistras, who just so happens to also be one of the producers on Breaking Bad. And then after season 1, he leaves the show, and then almost immediately the entire show becomes shit. And Eric Kripke, who's like the other producer, he starts inserting culture war retardation. All the violence starts being used as a comedic crutch. He finds violence very funny. He's Jewish. In season 1, the violence was like fairly horrific. The humor was like kind of clever. It wasn't just some shock value slop like it is in later seasons. Like Kripke's on Twitter. The head writer of the show is on Twitter, and he's saying, we added something crazy. I didn't even think we'd get away with something this crazy. It's like, this guy's like a fucking top writer in Hollywood. This does not give me any hope for any form of entertainment ever. Complete lack of respect for his own show. Another big problem with The Boys is that the black characters are defined purely by their relationships to whites, and they're not allowed any independent stories whatsoever, and they're just purely used to push anti-white messaging.
I'm pissed at those guys too, but we have to keep our heads on.
Why? Why do I always have to take the high road? You know, when white folks get mad, y'all motherfuckers go berserk, but I gotta turn the other cheek?
I can't say who's doing it because I'm not allowed, okay? But we all know who's to blame. Okay? All I'll say is, whoever it is, they really don't want black people to think for themselves. That's all I'll say. In season 1, when the show was written by a Greek, Mother's Milk was a man whose overwhelming sense of justice and desire to help others results in him hurting his own family. And it causes a rift between his wife, and it affects his relationship to his daughter. And then in season 2, when the Jew starts writing the show, this is abandoned. His daughter is basically never mentioned again, and he becomes the black guy who stands in the background until racism happens. There's a scene where Mallory tells him that their special ops unit was funded through crack, and MM's just steps forward and he goes, I heard that really affected the black community. Huh? And then he just steps back in the background like no one gives a shit. Nothing even comes of it.
Were you part of that other thing too?
What other thing?
She knows. Tell him.
The unwritten policy was to sell the cocaine strictly to minority neighborhoods.
Give me a second while I look up my little file of things I really don't give a fuck about. And here we have, under the letter N, we've got nigger.
They just wanted to remind you that racism exists, just in case you forgot. You see the inside of this guy's house, and it's filled with fucking pictures of MLK and Malcolm X, but not a single picture of his own fucking daughter. That's such an LA thing, by the way. Just some out-of-touch LA writer thinking, what would a black guy have in his house? Pictures of MLK and Biggie Smalls and shit? What would an Asian guy have? Just pictures of fucking Jackie Chan? White guys who got all the presidents on their walls? I didn't even realize till I rewatched this, but Soulja Boy killed the guy's family. That was so uninteresting that I genuinely forgot it even happened. A-Train's arc in Season 1 was about an aging athlete realizing he's getting replaced by a younger and fitter athlete and desperately doing anything to hold on to his glory days, the consequences of which mean he can't use his speed anymore, which makes him feel even more worthless and shit. So in Season 3 they have all this setup, but then the writers realize, oh yeah, he's black. So imagine this. Racism. Every black character on the show inevitably has to encounter racism. That's just how it works. Their story can't be about duty or family or growing old. Nah, it has to be about evil white people. The writers have such a binary view on racism that the only way they can signal it to the audience is by having a black guy in the show just scream racist at someone.
You ain't no hero. You just another racist piece of shit we can't seem to get rid of.
Soldier Boy never does anything racist in the show.
What about what you did to Raymond Tucker?
Well, he was a criminal.
He was unarmed.
Would he have done the same thing to a white guy in Mill Hill?
I mean, yeah, probably almost certainly would. I mean, this would be a really powerful message if fucking Homelander hadn't just thrown a white girl off a building 3 episodes ago and no one gave a shit. Like, she didn't even get a press conference.
Black Lives Matter. Fuck you,
Walk away. Walk away. There you go. Get the fuck out. All lives matter. All lives matter.
Wow, this is such a good, nuanced, deep political discussion. You can really see why the writers of the show need more than $70K a year for this. You can really see the quality coming through in their writing. They're the best of the best of the best. The writers do not want you to think about any of this. They just want you to accept the programming. Hate who we tell you to hate. Love who we tell you to love. Now we're done with this, we can start talking about the whiteys. Billy Butcher is an angry guy who had an abusive dad. Every single series, he ends up going rogue and betraying the boys before inevitably being accepted back onto the team by the end of the series. Now, one of the things you gotta know about Garth Ennis is that he fucking hates superheroes, except for the Punisher, who he likes. So the boys' comic, Butcher is basically just the Punisher, which is to say he's a violent maniac who uses the death of his wife as an excuse to torture and kill superheroes. And this is the idea they were going for in Season 1. This guy was gonna kill himself, a woman, and her newborn baby in an attempt to make Homelander slightly upset. Now, Butcher in the comics ends up being the main villain of the series, who the boys have to team up to stop. The issue with the show is that they clearly can't tell if they want Butcher to end up as a genocidal villain or mellow out into a more sympathetic anti-hero. This leads to the character just constantly flip-flopping between being an irredeemable madman and a sympathetic, misunderstood soft boy. One minute he'll be fearing for Huey's life, the next he'll be intentionally giving him brain cancer. He'll be going on a rant about how all superheroes are snapping dudes' dicks off left and right.
Did it ever occur to you that they split your spine or broke your dick just for a laugh? Where's your fucking rage?
And then he'll be fucking them in the next scene. And then in the next scene, he's fucking teaming up with Soldier Boy for no fucking reason. Who, according to the show, is a racist pedophile who killed MM's entire family. Butcher seemingly has no issue with any of this. Just a reminder that this is the last superhero he fucking worked with. And I know what people are gonna say, okay? It's not character development. The writers just don't know what they're fucking doing. Should he be a villain or should he be an anti-hero? We don't know. Hence why he gets let back on the team every fucking season. This might be a controversial opinion, but personally, if a friend of mine abandoned me in an underground black site prison camp where I will be presumably tortured and killed, and then right after he gave me brain cancer, I wouldn't be his friend anymore. People unironically say the show is well written. They get paid $70,000 for this, and they think it's too little. Alright, let's run through the nobodies quickly. Frenchie and Kimiko are just filler characters. They never do anything interesting. It's usually something like, "Oh, I am addicted to heroin, but I want to kiss you, but I see you as a sister, I'm sorry. Sacre bleu, I do not understand what you are saying. I need to take drugs." And that'll go on for like 4 hours. Starlight starts as this hopeful young hero who is quickly disillusioned by the horrors of hero society, much like Erin Moriarty in real life, who entered Hollywood as a bright young flower and now after years of substance and sexual abuse has degraded into a lifeless skeletal husk by the age of 30. Her purpose in the show is to make speeches and morally posture over everyone else. No, Homelander, that's wrong. You can't kill that innocent man. Well, that doesn't count. I mean, that was like 40% self-defense. The Deep is solely used for lowbrow sex jokes. Oh, look at that. He's having sex with a squid. Isn't that funny? No, not really. No, I mean, you've seen Daisy's Destruction. You've seen it all. Seriously, though, what is with this weird trend of Hollywood thinking that the more depraved something is, the funnier it is? I don't understand. What was this made for Vosh fans? Let me put it another way. Was this made for Redditors? The entire show revolves around Homelander. Homelander is this unstoppable figure who causes problems for both the boys and for Vought. Homelander is sort of like a nerf for Vought, because no matter how much of a burden he is, they can't remove him because he's, like, unkillable. And then the boys also have to find a way to destroy this unstoppable being. The problem, however, is that Homelander is very killable, so he just sort of makes every other character seem incompetent. I mean, we directly see that Vought have dealt with other Homelander-level supers before, in the form of Soldier Boy. You know, why do they keep Homelander around? Do they just enjoy causing problems for themselves? In the comics, Vought are constantly looking for ways to kill Homelander because of how much of a fucking liability he is. Hence the Black Noir reveal later in the comic. But in the show, we are told in season 1 that no weapon works against him and he can't be beat.
He doesn't have any weakness.
No.
There isn't a weapon on Earth that they haven't thrown at him. They've all failed.
And then we see in season 3 that clearly is not true, because Homelander gets absolutely fucking mollywopped by Maeve in the 1v1, taking more damage than we've ever seen him take. I mean, you can't convince me a team of like fairly high-level supers couldn't kill this guy easily. The boys also have access to a gas that can put the dude that Homelander was literally cloned from into a permanent coma, so I don't see why they don't just use it on him, but you know that gas ain't gonna fucking come up again. Despite this, Homelander is by far everyone's favorite character, much to the writer's chagrin. It's probably because any interaction between the heroes and villains on this show is basically just honestly, the leftist ability to create a sympathetic villain whilst trying to create an irredeemable one needs to be studied. Like they'll have these really relatable scenes of him daydreaming about killing annoying people, and then they make it out as if it's like a bad thing. He didn't actually do it. Leftists watch this and they go, "I would never even think of doing that, you sicko. I only want to kill bad people, like white babies, black babies, Zionist babies, myself." Every single season ends with two things. Butcher's back on the team, and then there's like a shot of Homelander where you can hear the writers going, "Oh, he's crazy. He's gonna go crazy. Is he gonna go crazy next season?" No, he isn't, because he never fucking does. Eric Kripke said there was originally 5 seasons planned, but now who knows how many there could be, which is fucking bullshit. There were not 5 seasons planned. They had 1 season planned, and they've been coasting ever since. This show gets written on the day of filming. I know it. I know. In season 2, Homelander kills a kid on video, and no one gives a shit because Stormfront and Homelander make memes. Fucking early 2000s era white text memes. 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. My God, they demand more than 70k a year. They go on strike and they say 70,000 a year. That's not enough. That's not enough for writing this, whilst cops and firefighters are out here getting raped. The Deeper gets a whole ass arc about him trying to rehabilitate his image, and by season 3 they just go, fuck it. And they just don't give a shit anymore. Nothing changes. Black Noir has this whole backstory, and then they kill him off an episode later. Complete waste of time. Butcher's wife wasn't dead the whole time, and then she's dead by the end of the series. May as well have just left her dead. Total waste of time, you moron. Soldier Boy comes out of a coma, does nothing, and then gets put back into a coma. Total waste of time, go fuck yourself. Stormfront, some secret Nazi gets introduced, then dies without doing anything of note. Total waste of time, fucking kill yourself, you faggot. Remember in season 1 where the whole point of the season was that Vought was trying to get military contracts, and to do this they created various superpowered criminals and terrorists to justify sending superheroes into these war zones, and then this is just never brought up again beyond one scene at the start of season 2. Literally no one gives a shit. Homelander doesn't give a shit. Stan Edgar doesn't give a shit. The writers certainly don't give a shit. It doesn't affect the world in any capacity. All those super terrorists running around, the formula for Compound V being publicly released into the wild, allowing any country or group to create their own superheroes, who gives a fuck? That's Israel's problem. In an interview with Screen Rant, Kripke was asked, "In season 2, there's the supervillain terrorists all over the world that have been activated by Homelander. However, you never really get the sense that they're more dangerous than their creators. Can you talk to me a little bit about that dynamic?" And he responds, "Yeah, it's a great question. We were really interested in exploring the idea of authority figures getting the public really riled up with xenophobia and racism. But ultimately, the most dangerous people are the white dudes standing next to you." Jewish, by the way, remember that. "We wanted to reflect that story, so the supervillains are, in a way, a misdirect." You remember the entire story of the fucking first season of the show? Yeah, it was a misdirect so we could do a racism allegory. You may as well not even watch the fucking show, honestly. The misdirect was more interesting than the entire rest of the fucking show. I can already tell what people are going to say. They're going to say, well, what about Homelander's son, Ryan? Okay, that's a part of the show that changes. Ryan may as well be a mystic gem or a special gun. He has no character, he doesn't do anything, and he wasn't in the comics. He was only invented as part of a bet to make the most annoying child character since that kid in the fucking Strain. His motives for being with Homelander or Butcher are non-existent. The writers just decide, oh, he's with Homelander now. You know, the guy who basically got his mum killed, and the last time you saw him, he was covered in the blood and the guts of the innocent. Why? Oh, why? Oh, because he had a fucking argument with Butcher once. Who gives a shit? You know, the only reason they did this is because they had to write in a way for Homelander to survive the end of season 3. And they had nothing. They had no clue how to get him out of that situation without this kind of ass pull. Hey, I don't get paid $70,000 a year for this shit, but I, as a layman, will rewrite this, but better and for free. Cut Butcher's wife, she achieves nothing. Have Butcher kidnap Ryan and try and train him as a weapon to use against Homelander. Ryan eventually runs away and is found by Homelander, and then they team up against Butcher. Makes infinitely more sense and makes Butcher's character more consistent. I'll take that $70,000. Hey, Hollywood, I won't even go on strike. I'll just take the money. This writing shit's fucking easy, bro. I came up with that in like 20 seconds. Let these guys pave the roads. I will take the place. You can pretty easily predict the contents of the season because every season ends up incorporating what was popular on Twitter from the previous year. So first it was Trump and the election stuff, and then it's COVID, and this time you'd think it would be Palestine and Israel, but the Jewish producers are never going to sign off on that one. It's probably going to be AI. Okay, this is the plot of the next season. It's going to be Stan Edgar. He's building a superhero team generated by AI algorithms, right? And they're all also going to be mind controlled or something. And then the boys are going to kill some of them, and then they're going to go, oh my god, they're mind controlled. And then they won't dwell on that, okay? Butcher will go rogue, and he'll be like, I can use this mind control tech to kill Homelander. And then MM will discover that the mind control was used to force black people into doing gun crime or some shit. And he'll be like, Huey, I never told you this. I never told you the reason I do this. I'm doing this for my daughter. I'm doing this for my daughter. And he'll be like, oh, that's awesome, MM. How old is she? And then MM will be like, huh? What the fuck are you talking about right now? Huh? Don't you ever question the love I have for my daughter. I love my daughter. I would do anything for my daughter. Except be there. Then Homelander will do some killing. Okay, Ryan will turn against him, probably fight him in the finale. Butcher gets let back on the team. And then Homelander stares at the camera as if he's going to go crazy. In Season 1, the show was critiquing Hollywood, media corruption, and commercialization. By Season 3, they've stopped caring about any of that shit, presumably because they're working for Hollywood and the biggest corporation on the planet. So by Season 2, the show changes from being about media corruption to being about white supremacy. And then in Season 3, it was about COVID denial. The whole idea of Vought being a grounded and realistic company was totally abandoned after Season 1. In Season 1, the boys kill a famous superhero, Translucent. And it was like a big fucking deal, you know? You saw Vought having to enact all these schemes to cover up this scenario. Like, it actually affected the company and the world. Now the writers, they don't give a fuck about realism, okay? Heroes would just be killed off and maimed, and the media doesn't give a shit. Vought doesn't seem to try and even cover it up at all, beyond just saying, nuh-uh. Every single member of the original superhero team Payback were massacred, and nobody cares. Like, imagine if Paul McCartney, imagine if his naked corpse was found in the woods with his face smashed in. Yeah, I feel like people would talk about that. The reason why this happens is because of Eric Kripke's insistence on inserting retard baby politics into the show. Politics of the show doesn't work. Anyone who says they make fun of both sides is clearly lying or Down syndrome. They make fun of one side at the expense of the entire show's world building. From Season 2 onwards, they stop all critique of elitism and start doing cartoon political discussion on the same level as that movie Don't Look Up. In Season 2, it's saying all right-wingers are Nazis, and then in Season 3, it's about right-wingers denying the existence of COVID. Which is something that never even happened in real life, and that's the irony part. The right wing say it's fake, and then the left wing say it's real. The show wants to claim that the right wing are conspiracy theorists who don't believe this obvious truth. The problem, however, is that the villains of the show are the establishment, and they can't have the supposed alt-right conspiracy theorists getting their information from the mainstream media, whilst the educated left-wingers are getting their information from non-official sources on Twitter. This obviously makes no fucking sense. So the show seems to retcon Vought from a conglomeration that is shown to control all the world's media to an InfoWars level organization
Serious crap.
So yes, they destroyed the premise of the entire fucking show in order to better fit this political narrative that is explored with so little depth and nuance that you could actually explain the entire thing on Twitter and not even get close to hitting the fucking word limit. This shit has an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's fucking crazy. They go on strike for this. They think they don't get paid enough. 70,000 a year is not enough. I've seen a lot of people defend this show with the same arguments that they used to defend She-Hulk. Those being that The Boys is intentionally shit. I don't care. It's still fucking shit. So, in conclusion, is the show good? No. Why do people like it? Because they're stupid, really. The show is literally slop designed for r/politics members. And I didn't even get into the fucking the R-rated shit, right? Like the not child-friendly thing. When you say something is not child-friendly, it's literally like a code for something that is clearly designed for children and morons. It doesn't have any adult themes post-season 1. Any themes it does have are so surface level that an ungrown fetus could probably grasp them. Racism bad is an uninteresting topic, guys. Okay? Fellas, it's time to do something else. I want people to stop watching this show. It's one of the most corporatized, streamlined products that hides behind this veneer of satirizing corporation. Literal goy slop. Stop being a slave. Wake up from the Matrix. I mean, quite frankly, if you enjoy this show, I mean, suicide is an option.